Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the worst decisions that Gi-hun made during the second season of Squid Game. And before you start killing me in the comments, let me tell you this. Yes, I understand that this is a TV show. Yes, I understand the point of Gi-hun's character and his dumb decisions in the first season. I mean, come on. Taking out your mother's life insurance just to get money for betting is not something even an average person would do. So I know the standard from which he started. The point I'm trying to make isn't that the show should be perfect or that he should be a genius with all the answers. It shouldn't be. I think the main reason we liked Squid Game so much and why we grew fond of Gi-hun was that in many ways he is exactly like us. What I'm trying to say is that from a logical point of view, and even in terms of character motivation and execution, he has done almost everything wrong in Season 2. In this second season, I expected that everything he went through would change him a little and make him think more rationally. But no, this season confirmed that he remains unchanged. He is still that degenerate gambler who won everything purely by luck. Now let's begin from the start. His main goal was to stop the games. And to do so, he needed to find the recruiter so that he could point out the game creators. So far, so good. But how did he look for the recruiter? He hired his former loan shark and his team to go from one subway station to another. Is that really the best plan you could have come up with? With 45.6 billion won at his disposal, he could have bribed someone from the subway security system to access the CCTV cameras throughout Seoul. Then he could have hired people to monitor all the subway stations simultaneously, covering more ground and potentially discovering other recruiters. Furthermore, if someone appeared on the cameras, he would have time to reach the designated location. Secondly, we saw him acquiring numerous firearms from the black market. But why didn't it occur to him to also hire a hacker from the dark web? His goal was to expose and stop the games. He could have used the hacker to track the source of the money and follow that lead to connect them to the VIPs. Or why didn't he go to the media and expose his story? Hell, he has the money to even create a mini Squid Game version, like Mr. Beast. This would surely draw a lot of attention to the subject. Maybe some of the previous winners could reach out to him, join forces, and try to stop the games. Every year, 455 people disappear from their families' lives and never return, and no one questions why. Gi-hun could even use the money he won to raise awareness about the games and convince people that they're real. This could compel the police to investigate the matter properly. Moving on to my next point, his meeting with the recruiter and how he risked his life just to prove a point in the Russian roulette scene. That was the moment that made me realize he hadn't changed one bit and was still a gambling addict. Consider his actions, from going unarmed into the chamber with the recruiter to accepting his gaming offer. I think most of you would agree that if you were in his position and knew there was a bullet in that gun, you would have used all 6 rounds to shoot the recruiter as fast as possible. But he didn't. Instead, he wanted to prove to the recruiter that he was just a dog and that the recruiter would never understand what he went through during those games. Remember, his main goal was to stop the games. To do that, he planned to use the salesman to get in touch with someone higher up. The salesman had told him before the game that he carried an invitation in his pocket that could get him a meeting with the frontman. Yet he still decided to gamble with his life, taking a 50-50 chance. Moving forward, I consider his handling of the implant equally foolish on his part. At the very least, he could have opted for additional implants or even injected something under his skin for extra security. It should be clear to everyone that his desire to return to the games is highly suspicious. The frontman wouldn't have allowed him to rejoin if he wasn't sure that Gi-hun couldn't expose him or interfere with the games. He went through the selection process twice, so why didn't it ever occur to him that they would scan for bugs before putting every player into the games? After Gi-hun discovered that his implant was gone, he realized that he was screwed. This was a clear sign that he did not truly want to return to the games as a player. He only agreed to go back so that he could serve as a tracking device for the detective. Once he found himself back in the game, he he barely tried to stop it. His biggest argument was, "Stop playing this game because you will die." That was essentially his only line during the last 4 episodes. He just kept saying, "Everyone would die. We're all going to die." He did such a poor job that even his closest friend didn't believe him and changed his vote to an O. It would have been much more compelling if he had explained everything he went through in the games and emphasized there could only be one winner. He should have told them about the 4th game, where they were forced to play against one another. He could have recounted how a husband and wife teamed up to survive, only to discover that they ultimately had to compete against each other and kill the other one. He even had the opportunity to mention the glass bridge, but instead he simply yelled, "I played this game before," as if that wouldn't backfire in any way. After that, he spent about 90% of the time in complete silence, looking angry at everyone. After the first voting scene, and upon realizing that they lost by just 1 vote, he could have bribed some players to vote for leaving the game. He had already offered to pay off all the debts of his team, so why not try to persuade some of the players, the O's, who had smaller debts? Not everyone was in debt for 10 billion won. Some owed only around 1 to 2 million won. For Gi-hun, that kind of money would be nothing if he truly wanted to stop the games. Instead, he started shooting and tried to convince them with logic and reasoning. It's kind of ironic. He was willing to prove a point during Russian roulette when he was a millionaire, but he expected people in debt to make the correct and logical choice. Another stupid mistake was made before the special game. He knew something similar would happen because of his experience in Season 1, and when he saw the fork, he realized it would occur that night. And what did he do? He remained silent once again, telling only a few people about it. Why didn't he share this information with the rest of the X? Even if he wanted to continue his plan for the revolt, he could have at least helped the others prepare to defend themselves. The person who claimed to want to save everyone was okay with sacrificing a few people for the greater good. But this is starting to drift away from his character and kindness. He could have alerted them, and perhaps assigned some players to stand guard. Hell, he could even have yelled at the O, telling them that their plan wouldn't work, and explaining that he knew they intended to attack once the lights were turned off. That would most likely have discouraged many of the players from continuing with the plan. Now, let's examine the worst possible plan Gi-hun devised in Season 2, the rebellion. How in the world did he expect that plan to work? 7 untrained people going against an unknown number of guards in an unknown building with an unknown target. The entire premise is incredibly dumb. This proves my entire point. He hasn't changed one bit from Season 1. He is still that idealistic gambler who expects an incredible outcome when the odds are almost 0. If your goal is to end the games and save as many people as possible, wouldn't it be much better to follow the frontman's plan and attack the O first? Or perhaps defend the remaining X and end the games with the next vote? While I understand the premise, that in his mind, this was his only chance to stop the games, because if he didn't rebel and the majority voted to finish the games the next morning, he would have no other opportunity to uncover the creators and stop them. How can you stop the games if you're dead? This plan had 0 chance of succeeding, literally 0, and even without the frontman's betrayal, the rebellion would have still ended in failure. They were always on the defensive. The guards could easily surround them, as evidenced by the large number of guards who stormed the dorm after 120 returned. The only reason the rebellion took so long to be diminished was that it was entertaining for the VIPs and served to break Gi-hun's and the other players' spirits. The guards never faced any real challenges, and for anyone who claims that Gi-hun's team could have won if it weren't for In-ho's betrayal, please watch the episode again. I completely understand the idea of trying to catch the guards by surprise and taking the fight to them, but they were insanely outnumbered, outgunned, and unprepared. Out of the entire rebel squad, only 4 players even knew how to handle a gun. I'm even more puzzled by how everyone seemed to agree with the plan, especially 120. As a former sergeant, she should have known better than to endorse a plan that was pure suicide. Perhaps she didn't care and thought it was better to die fighting than to die in a game. But still, no one questioned it. They simply followed the plan blindly. And as a result, we saw what happened. His best friend was killed right before his eyes. A bunch of X died in the special game, and now they are severely outnumbered for the next vote. Consequently, people will continue to play and continue to die because of Gi-hun's master plan. Before you start coming after me in the comments, since I'm Gi-hun's biggest hater, please explain how his plan would actually work. Please detail the entire plan, how he would kill all the guards in the base, gain access to the control room, find the front man and ensure he hadn't fled before taking over, trick the VIPs into coming to the island so he can expose them, and finally, escape from the island. And that's not all. There are many other aspects of Gi-hun's plan that seem impossible for his rebel team. For example, what if there were electric doors that could only be unlocked from the control room? They would be stuck, waiting for their death. The problem is that considering he was ready to make a small sacrifice, a much safer way to end the game would have been to defend against the other team's attack and ensure they outnumbered the O's. The next day's vote would have been in their favor, and everyone would have left the island safe and sound. Obviously, killing the front man would have been better, but he should have known that it was nearly impossible, even without the Inho betraying him. What would be the best case scenario for Gi-hun? Perhaps overthrow the guards and kill the front man, but that wouldn't end the game. If you want to stop the games, you need to cut off the money, meaning you have to kill the VIPs, or at least expose what they did. Even if you achieve your goal of taking over the base, you're still stuck on an island with no way of escaping. What are you going to do? Just wait until you die of hunger. And remember, there are bombs on the island that could easily be detonated remotely. Gi-hun doesn't know about this, and it's most likely that if his plan had succeeded, the VIPs would have triggered those bombs. I say this plan is dumb, because even if you miraculously succeed, nothing would change. The games would most likely continue on another island, and the VIPs would hire a new frontman and new guards. In short, you'd risk the lives of all the other players for nothing. I dare you to prove me wrong in the comments. I look forward to debating this with you. Thank you for watching and engaging with my videos, even if we sometimes aren't on the same page. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.